This is Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor. You're listening to Gallifrey Public Radio. Go and throw yourself under a bus. I didn't mean to say that. He told me to say that.
This is Gallifrey Public Radio, a weekly podcast dedicated to positive enjoyment of Doctor Who. We travel through classic and new episodes, explore the extended universe, and play a few games from time to time. We do discuss news, content that has been officially released, and the occasional interesting rumor, but we'll warn you before anything considered spoilers comes up. Welcome to episode 508 of Gallifrey Public Radio, where the fandom had no idea what to expect from this ride, but even in our wildest dreams, we didn't think we'd be screaming quite this much. I'm Kier.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Julie. This week, familiar faces return, unresolved plot lines are addressed, and emotions on both sides of the screen are put through the ringer in The Star Beast.
We don't know how or why, but the skinny suit-wearing Doctor is back and has been taken by the TARDIS to, present-day London, within yards of one Donna Noble and her daughter with Sean Temple, Rose.
There's a downed alien ship as well, no coincidence to the Doctor there, and Rose herself is the first to meet the Meep, who is being actively pursued by the insect-like Rarth warriors.
The Doctor scrambles to remain anonymous for reasons we all know too well, while protecting Donna and her family, whilst also figuring out why all is not as it seems with these two extraterrestrial visiting species.
Oh, I will escape and have my revenge. So you beware, Doctor, because there's one more thing.
Which is?
A creature with two hearts is such a rare thing. Just wait till I tell the boss.
Cryptic. I hate that.
I think it's only fair off the top, after this long delay in waiting for new content, that without giving too much away at the outset of this conversation, what our first reactions and present emotional states are after watching at least a couple times.
After 4 viewings, I'm just as happy as I was sitting down and seeing the titles roll for the first time. It was a blast. It was so much fun. The new intro looks amazing. Such a happy opening with like kind of upbeat folksy music, and it just like it definitely sets you in the mood.
The tone that the show began with, I think, let us know that we were in for something that was going to be both serious, deal with some pretty good solid topics, and leave us with tears drenching everything, but still very excited and happy that we have what we got.
I watched for a lot of reactions from people as they were starting to trickle down on social media. We were watching it as it dropped. Fascinating, Disney Plus, at least here. Jay, you can attest to the Central States. Here in the East Coast, it dropped exactly in sync with the UK broadcast time overseas. So we had it, early afternoon, and then for folks that started to see it a little bit later in the day or further on in the weekend or are still starting to get to it now, I'm still seeing the feed getting populated with people that are sort of doing a I'm starting it now kind of thing, and then are threading the conversation under that to say, I'm 30 minutes in, and the emotions get larger and larger. But by and large, a lot of them, as you were saying, Julie, like within the first 10 minutes are saying, this is tonally and all of the feel of it is exactly what I wanted right now. This is my first present for the holiday season, so to speak.
It's the comfort food that we haven't had in so long from the TV show that we love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As far as emotional states, I will say for lack of a better adjective, that this was a difficult one to watch, but not because it was particularly distressing or upsetting or dark or anything of that sort. And it wasn't difficult to watch because it wasn't enjoyable, because as you can tell, it obviously was as far as our estimation. But it was difficult because of all of the journeys that it takes you through over the course of that just under an hour. So it's exhausting. Then maybe that's a better term for it. It's an exhausting episode.
So let's take a moment and talk about the execution of the actual story beats. Kind of what did we think of the kind of setup that went into everything?
That was a worry. We wanted to know how the Doctor was going to handle sort of staying in the periphery of Donna for obvious reasons, right? We knew that there's no reason why they would be in the story together unless they're going to come face to face. We knew from some of the teasers and trailers that this was going to occur, but how was it going to be handled? And I think I like the duality of his tension and worry and concern, and she's just Donna. Mm-hmm. She's just Donna.
The very first moment where you didn't know where they were going to meet, but it had to be early on. So the reveal of the boxes coming down and then just putting them right back up, and then the immediacy of her just not being able to comprehend, looking the other way, just it puts the tone for her growth pattern to just be this epic arc, which I loved so much. And I think that, to me, I think that's the first minute or the first second that I laughed, was just like, oh, they can be safely here and we're going to get something. I was a little worried from the previews we were going to see the mom show up earlier, where that was their first minute of introduction. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that wasn't it, that we got a little off the cuff initial interaction between them.
I think it did a great job of bringing the characters together, being like something is causing them to have to interact. Like they're, right off the bat, you have that introduction, and then you go immediately into the, a lot of the story beats with units showing up, with the spaceship crashing, kind of introducing everyone that's going to, like, all the human characters that are going to be part of everything. Mm-hmm. And then we find out about the Meep and the Rarth warriors who are pursuing the Meep. And that whole initial conflict kind of starts to build with the, like learning all the information from the Meep, getting it relayed to to Rose, and then eventually to Donna. I thought this was a great setup to kind of bring everything together. And then obviously you have the way that the rest of the story plays out as well. I felt like it was compelling through the whole thing, with little breadcrumbs for people that didn't know what was going on. So I thought it was a fantastic story built the way it was.
It's a familiar or comfortable formula that I can understand now why Rachel Talalay was saying that this had, in many senses, a classic story feel to it, as far as how we get our players in place. We have something that looks to be the current dilemma. Something upstages it, mm-hmm. and reveals itself to be the more immediate problem. But the solution to one, or at least the journey towards the resolution of the one, guides us to the advancement of the other. So A and B stories work very well in tandem that way. And then that gives us the flexibility to do this kind of tilt, this constant tilt between the nostalgia and the drama of it, right? Because we could live in watching, these two, bicker or kind of, riff off each other all day long and have no story. That would satisfy a large percentage of the viewers if it was just the Tennant and Tate just riffing for 58 minutes. I
mean, I'd pay extra to have that at the end of the episode, just kind of stick in what we were dealing with without.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
So yeah, I mean, it sets I don't want to call it a tropey or a too overly formulaic foundation for the story to progress. But it's something that for everybody that was concerned as to whether or not are they going to be able to recapture the magic. Hell yeah, I can recapture the magic. Look at the two of them. So,
And I think too, I know that you had mentioned in a previous cast about the Meep being not what it seemed, and potentially, I think we knew that the Meep was the bad guy, even though it's soft and cuddly in the beginning. And I think for me, and part of the reason why I'm so against spoilers is the way that played out and the revelations as we watched and went through, where the first minute the Wrath warriors, Wrath warriors see the boy in the alleyway and they say, "Stop! We're not looking for this one. The Meep is who we're after." And then seeing them fighting in the street with the guns, but it's clearly stun weapons. There's no damage from what they're shooting. And you saw that sort of slowly play out with whatever sound barrier thing was going on from the doctor that got built, and then the cars, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm so glad that I had forgotten that piece of knowledge, because it was one of those, I walked the path that the story was taking me on, and I got to see it and experience it in real time as I was like, something's not right. Like, this is, okay, we're saving this thing, but also something's not right. And then the flip of the minute the doctor puts on the wig and says court is in session, I was like, oh, this is the thing that's going to happen. Oh, right, this thing's evil. And then that turn, that reveal was just epic, and I loved it so much. And yeah, go ahead.
I knew, like, I remembered, I knew what was likely going to happen. And even knowing that, going in being like, all right, this thing's going to, and I'm watching everyone in the room with me, seeing if they're going to pick up on it or not. But by the time that they got there, like, enough had happened and enough explanation had come out that I'm like, are they going a different route? Like, is the Meep actually going to be a peaceful? And so it's like, when it finally did twist, it was a relief to me. Like, oh, okay, thank God. Like,
yeah, stuck to the story. You still got the villain that you wanted and you deserved, but the getting there, you were, oh, well, don't take their fur. Look at those eyes. I believe that this creature is soft, cuddly, and will do no wrong.
I will say that one thing I like, this whole episode felt pretty lighthearted, and the overall stakes felt pretty low for what it was. Like, I mean, we know that London's not going to be destroyed. We know the doctor's going to find, like, there's never any sincere, like, oh my God, something terrible may happen here. So it felt very low stakes for the most of it, which allowed the emotional beats and the personal stakes with Donna and Rose to really hit that much harder.
I can see that. I can see that it's a matter of both of the storylines that you're trying to track had sufficient room. It didn't feel like it was too hectic at any point, or that one was necessarily upstaging the other. I think the fact that we were able to get a lot of the concern and an issue with the Doctor and Donna established in Act 1, to get the anchor early on with Donna foreshadowing the statements about Donna Noble descending and the lengths that a mother will go to protect her own. Given that, and given all of the room that earned, or that it was entitled within the first 12 minutes of the story, I think, when they first get back to their flat, allows you then to sit back and say, okay, you make statements like that, we're going to see that challenged. I'm here to see that challenged. So that even though, we kind of dance around with the Meep and the Wrath Warriors for a little bit, and then we get that, that great car park sequence with the courtroom reenactment and all. which, by the way, you kind of love the Roth Warriors when you finally get to talk to them, and they're just so pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
Just
So
lovely.
nice.
It's just like Simon and Nigel. Just
And they did a great job too of like anytime it was kind of a one-on-one or like just the creatures before that, they're shot from a low angle. They look tall and imposing and menacing, and it's usually darkly lit. And then as soon as they start speaking, the camera comes up to eye level or higher, and it's more brightly lit, and they don't seem as imposing. And they did a great job of really kind of cementing that feel until the time where the reveal needed to happen.
yeah, I think a lot of that is Rachel and the director of photography. So it's a matter of kind of recognizing that there was so much of that really careful selection of what was getting metered out visually and in auditory sense. You know, sentences that were getting clipped. Or getting certain perspectives on lines being delivered as they were drifting out of frame and things. So it's really, really nicely done in that regard. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think the danger level you were talking about, Jay, about it not seeming like kind of high stakes. By the time you get to the point where that engine is firing up and tearing the streets of London apart, that felt pretty large scale. Right. I think a lot of that. Kudos to the effects department. Because between the opening sequence, which is gorgeous right now.
You didn't put enough H's in the beginning of that.
Gorgeous. And incidental effects like the sweeping clouds of the solar psychosis and psychotropics kind of drifting around and that sort of thing. It's just those little aspects. It was very, very polished, and I think it sold really well. I didn't quite understand how it reversed so cleanly, but I don't really care at this point. So
there's no more cars on any of those streets, but the streets are back.
Beautifully.
And I mean, to your point on the VFX, like the Meep looked amazing. I couldn't tell where the practical effect ended and the CGI began. I don't know how much of that was puppetry and how much was like it. It looked so good, and I didn't care. It took me like my third viewing before I was like, this is really freaking awesome. Like it blended so seamlessly before that I didn't even think about it.
I know within about 24 hours we got a little behind the scenes stuff with Russell taking us through the Roth Warriors and the mask and some of the armature and stuff. I don't think they've done that yet for the Meep.
No.
It's just real. That's a creature that, you could go,
I believe
have
it.
one as a pet.
I believe it.
It makes you believe that the eye poke is a real thing. You would.
I love how she went straight for the eye. Like it just no hesitation. I'm just gonna poke this thing in the eye and see what happens.
Yep, very Donna.
Speaking of that whole the toy sequence, it's sort of the ET moment, among all of the stuffed animals in the closet there. Did anybody else pick up on the identity of Rose's creations prior?
No, because they very carefully selected stuff that wasn't revealed at the end. So all of the toys she had before that were not the ones that they point out at the end, like the Dalek or the Cyberman,
That's
things
true.
like that.
But I remember seeing one that looked like the Beast.
Yes.
Early on.
But the Beast was not Donna.
Right.
And the one with the big eye, I think, was one that they did highlight at the end, but not one of the very first and not the most recognizable. So I think that was very cleverly. Yeah. And you pulled out its tummy.
Yeah.
Which just, you knew that they were important and something to pay attention to, but you didn't know why until the end, which I think that's one of those things that makes you want to go back and watch again, which hence the 3-4 times going through, which some of that comes through in a lot of the themes that we saw throughout the show. So are there any that were more hard-hitting, close to home for you? And how did the themes match up with the tone of the music and the stage and how it was set?
There were a couple of things that stood out to me. The first thing was the overarching theme of kind of being protective. You have the Roth Warriors that we find out are watching out for everyone. They're trying to protect everyone. They're using stun guns. They're making sure no one gets harmed that shouldn't be, like that kind of thing. And then you have the doctor, Sylvia, even Sean at times being very protective of Donna. Even when Donna is like, I'm so stupid, Sean immediately jumps in. He's like, no, you're not. Like they're all being very careful with her. And then further, you have Donna, who is ready to burn down the world to protect her daughter. And it's just everyone looking out for others was kind of a constant theme throughout this thing that just really resonated with me.
I think to add to that too is the doctor being so careful and cautious with Donna as well. Mm-hmm. And they so the script allowed for the doctor to admit love and feelings and genuine friendship and care for Donna. Mm. And it's, especially after we've been watching so much classic, it's so refreshing to just see the doctor just, oh, I just love her. Oh, do I say those things now? Which you don't get that from the doctor often.
That was one thing that kind of came up too in my discussion with some people was like 14 is very much just the 10th Doctor with new memories because he immediately refers to Donna as his best friend. We're skipping over Yaz. We're skipping over Amy or Missy. And we're just like, no, Donna's my best friend. So clearly this is the 10th Doctor again. Resurgent. Yeah. Yeah.
I had heard some people that were a little taken aback. In retrospect, they were enjoying the episode at face value for everything it was worth while viewing. But then when they were thinking about it later, they were thinking, boy, the doctor took a lot of punches through this. They were just getting slagged up, down, and sideways through the entire story. And they felt like that, looking at it in the rearview mirror, felt a little off balance. Did anybody else feel that way? Or do you see?
Do you mean like how the doctor doesn't charge into the situation at first and kind of is sitting like, I don't know who I am?
No, this is more about any interaction with the doctor, whether it was coming from Sylvia or Donna or others. They were constantly getting dressed down. They were just
literally got slapped in the face.
Yeah, Yeah. So it's kind of, they became sort of the whipping post for a little while. I don't think
I think for 15 years, if we're talking themes of protection, Sylvia has been dealing with her daughter who has felt different as a person because parts of what made her so smart and great and were really brought out by when she was with the doctor 15 years ago, they've been protecting her from all of that. Mm-hmm. And you can tell in the way that they interacted in the kitchen at the very beginning when she's at the house. And any mention of the alien or the spaceship or this or that, immediately the mom turns and says, oh, I saw so-and-so the other day or this other thing, which when you're the mom having to be that constant nag of, don't think about that, let's talk about other stuff, you know that weighs on you because you're constantly not allowing natural flow of conversation and being so protective. So for all of a sudden the doctor to show up, I think you get to drop some punches.
And then like the fact that it was slowly, or not so slowly, ramping up where, Rose comes in, it's like, oh, there was a spaceship, and Sylvia had to be like, no, there's no such thing as spaceships. And then in walks this alien, and she is trying desperately to like, no, don't look at the thing grabbing onto your leg. It doesn't actually exist, trying desperately to control the situation. And then she hears the knock and turns and sees the face of the person that has done all this to her for 15 years. Like, it makes sense that she is going to just unload on him. So
that was a sitcom level of compounding complications with her at the center of it.
And then brought to a close brilliantly with Sean showing up, taking everything in, taking a beat and just saying, well, something smells good. Like, I mean, just completely diffusing the situation instantly.
And that they've all been protecting Donna. Mm-hmm. So Wilf stopped talking about aliens at all. Mm-hmm. And Sean has been in on the whole thing the whole time as well, just trying to make everything normal. And these are my girls, and that's all I need in my life. And that's fine. Don't even care that all the money's gone.
So another thing that I wanted to talk about, and we knew going into this that we were going to have Yasmin Finney cast as Rose. We didn't know what that meant for the story. we guessed that the name of Rose probably came, it probably played some importance, but I didn't realize that the character herself was going to be trans. And that first moment when they're walking down the street and you hear the boys calling her Jason. And that was included intentionally by Russell. He wanted to make sure that this character was dead named because he recognized this is something trans people have to go through, and we need to, you need to be able to recognize that. And then, having Sylvia talking about it and being like, misgendering accidentally, or, however it played out, was that was where the light bulb came on for other people. Like, I didn't realize that was a thing. And then it really did play a much larger part in the story than I thought it was going to.
And I think it makes it okay that Donna, Sylvie, take it in stride. And yeah, it's hard for me too. I make mistakes and we just go on. And yes, she's gorgeous. And that is who she is. And that's great. And I think allowing that to be central to the story, part of the resolution, and how the entirety of the two of them are saved. And again, tears were wept and left all over everywhere. I think I said I was just a faucet and my eyes were leaking and I didn't know I had that much liquid in them just the whole time. I didn't stop. And
every time I see Donna being protective about Rose, the room gets very dusty every time, because seeing a mother hold that much affection and acceptance for their daughter going through that is not a universal constant. And it just serves to highlight that much more when it's not there. It's
a theme. It is probably the most established aspect of this episode's theme of identity. Mm-hmm. So if we have protection as a predominant theme, then the concept of identity, or the seeking of that identity, or the reveal of identity, or anything around that plays with every inter-character exchange that we have. It's what is the true identity of the meat? What is the doctor's identity in this thing, and why this face? Mm-hmm. Who is the doctor's identity to Donna, and how are we going to resolve what we know is this potentially catastrophic reveal? How is Rose dealing with identity from the point where she is confiding with this alien that has been hiding out in her shed and is saying things like, sometimes I feel like a monster too because I don't know if I belong. I don't feel like I belong anywhere. This is all part and parcel of a story that is trying to get us, the collective us, the viewing audience on a larger scale, to not just ask questions, because the only way that you can learn is by questioning and hoping that someone is going to be answering, but also the whole idea of just trying to be more dialed in to what is outside of your own immediate space, and start to see that there are things that you may be missing because you're being myopic. Mm-hmm. Unless you start to pull the camera back and see, where the Rarth warriors are standing with regard to the Meep and the unit soldiers that are having the gun down the street, you may not catch the fact that, Julie was starting to notice it during that exchange. She's like, there's no collateral damage going on here during this gunfight. What's going on at the moment? And then she revises that and says, oh, wait, no, those are bullets from that side. Mm-hmm. That side's not doing any damage. So it's a matter of pulling the view back and then sort of seeing where that identity truly lies. And having that be such a critical aspect of the resolution is not, as I have seen, made the mistake of reading comments, as of seeing people saying that they're just trying to shoehorn that in to make it part of the story. It is the story.
Right.
It is the fact that Donna has a child is the solution to the meta-crisis condition. The fact that Rose is non-binary is the exact counterpoint to the original binary thinking of black or white, yes or no. There's nothing in between. We have to do it this way, or everything goes to hell. That's not the end of the list. So I think that's a brilliant bit of writing craft to make that something that functions on so many different levels without detracting from anything else happening within the story structure.
Yeah.
Agreed. And the fact that it was addressed throughout in multiple different ways. So you get the introduction, as Jay said at the beginning, some of the struggles. How do we share that knowledge without just pointing it out and saying, oh, this is the way it is? Like this, it was a very real way of sharing that knowledge, and also highlighting. So you assume that the Meep is a he. Why? You're just assuming that. So how about let's take a step back in every instance and not just dealing with high level, but and then also with, I think we said the psychic paper saying, oh, catch up, kind of
That was so
multiple different instances of in some comedic and some just like very matter of factly, like, well, okay, so how does the Meep want to be referred to? And I think that is a way to allow anyone who's open-minded or can accept that we should zoom out a little bit and think of things and other people, put ourselves in their shoes. How can we ask those questions and do it kindly and nicely? And I think this showed us a little bit of that.
Right. For those still trying to understand why it was that we are seeing all of a sudden representation of our transgender community, we've got the scientific advisor, Shirley Ann Bingham, in a wheelchair. You know, if this seems unusual to you, if this seems like something like, why is this all here right now? Why do we have to feel like we're running down a list? Because they haven't been there, and they are watching the program, and they are part of the society that is being represented by those on screen. Science fiction doesn't mean that it's a fictional reality where these people don't freaking exist. So if that feels unusual to you, then you've been watching programs where the blinders have been structurally placed for your convenience and comfort.
And this is about representing the audience. There's more than just, cishet white guys out there. I mean, how many people are we going to see in wheelchairs rolling up to Galley with battle wheelchairs now? Like how many?
Oh, that brings up a really interesting point. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the quick little piece that they did for children in need.
Yes,
it's like didn't happen. So you've got Davros being represented. You've got this origin of the Dalek thing, and it was a very funny little bit. It was great. TARDIS crashes in, breaks the original prototype of the Dalek, and they find something to put the arm back on. And the guy who looks around and just finds a plunger and goes, "Oh, that'll work." But a Davros character is there who is fully upright, unscarred, not wheelchair bound. They talked to Russell afterwards about this, and he said, "Why is it that anybody who is wheelchair bound or disfigured is immediately categorized as a potential villain? You're going to have another Bond villain there who, rolls up in a platinum wheelchair with a cat in their lap." So I have all the respect in the world for the efforts that are being taken to pull down a lot of the structural expectations that we have for character archetypes and tropes, and on the inverse, the effort that is being made to put a better representation of true societal composition on screen in all capacities, whether they are the fact that you had a unit commander who is wearing their headdress that is part of their culture and faith. And it's all those little things where it's like, it's going to feel unusual to some until it feels comfortable to everyone. It has to get there.
And they really did a great job of incorporating things without it being, necessarily a character defining trait. I mean, with Shirley, like it didn't define her character that she was in a wheelchair, but it wasn't ignored either. The fact that like she rolls in at one point and the soldier's like, oh crap, the stairs. And she's like, no, it's fine. Go. It's like, this is stuff that people in wheelchairs are going to have to encounter every day. And it doesn't mean that is their only defining characteristic. The fact that she was an entire character, and I absolutely loved the interplay between her and the doctor, the way that their characters interacted was so good. But it's like, it's not just, oh, we have somebody in a wheelchair. Tick. It is the fact that they are a person. The fact that it feels like a genuine character is what's important.
I am hoping that we see her again.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's the next Osgood.
And you've said that, and I hope that's true. I mean, she's number 53, 56, something like that?
Oh, really?
Scientific advisor. 56.
It's like, I know, I've read this fast.
I used to be number one, so
true,
I don't know, right? We'll see. But I think, to your point, Jay, of she's a fully realized, she's been well established now. She's got a persona. And she doesn't take any crap from the doctor, which I love, because you need to be that when you are any level of control in unit. And then I think too, the reveal at the end of the new TARDIS interior and getting to see that we now have ramps, and that's more accessible for a lot of different reasons, but maybe that's one of them, is she would be able to join us in the TARDIS, and that's a hope I have.
Oh yeah. Me too.
So mention of the new TARDIS interior, which for a moment we will just give you all a nice collective GPR sound bath as we all react to the appearance of the new TARDIS.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It's so elegant. It has little aspects that you can see, the credit to this, the tip of the hat to that, but it is entirely its own. And it just feels so spacious. Well, it is spacious. I mean, it uses huge. Probably every outer panel possible of that drum-like soundstage that they use for the TARDIS interior.
You get a full 6 foot plus whatever human Dr. Man sprinting across in a couple of bounds. That tells you how tall or how wide that place is. That it is.
I've definitely heard some people that are not enamored with it.
Really?
Well, like, and honestly, this is something I said when it first popped on screen too. I was like, it looks kind of like an Apple store. Like that very kind of stark white, very minimalistic kind of clean appearance. We've got a friend that's has only watched New Who. He's, working his way through stuff, and he was like, it's way too clean. The TARDIS is supposed to be grungy and falling apart and things like that. And I'm like,
classically, no.
It's not.
It didn't used to be
go back
that
and look
way.
at many of the classic Doctors, and it is that clean kind of appearance. So it's
from a design perspective, the fact that they kept it relatively monochromatic. And having to do with the fact that it's not only cylindrical, but it's actually almost hemispherical.
Yeah.
Provides for, and Julie and I were talking about this before, the lighting. The fact that the roundels are now part of the accent lighting and provide a lot of the tonal light that can shift infinitely. I mean, you have any combination of hues and brightnesses and contrast levels by putting harsher, colder lights on one side. You can cast shadows that really catch people in profile, and you can do anything you want with that. So it's a canvas now from an artistic perspective. So while it may look on that first walk-in like it's very clinical and very antiseptic, the moment they turn the lights on,
it's different.
And it starts going through this phenomenal pattern. You're like, oh, okay, it's endless now. It's infinite as far as what we could do. And then,
the TARDIS has its own personality again,
right?
Not just. There's contraptions and things in the center console, and there's stuff around the outside, but the TARDIS can emote now. And we see that at the very end with fire and flames. However, I think once we are cured of that mishap of tea, that we will be. Was it actually coffee? I think it was coffee. I retract. Yeah. So I think that the lights will allow for more of that interaction with the TARDIS and how the TARDIS is feeling with the characters that are playing inside.
Someone was asking whether or not this is going to be Ncuti's interior, and I think for all intents and purposes, we're under the belief that it will be, because
that was me.
Yeah, because this is something, and I'm thinking about this. We also know that the 15th Doctor is not going to have a fixed costume. It's going to change with essentially every episode, right?
Which is fantastic because you get to see him in so many different outfits.
Precisely, yeah. And it was one of those things like, okay, you might have a kind of a look, you might have a thing, but do you really have to wear the same sweater vest every day?
You
for
mean they're
hundreds of years?
They're actually a person that wears clothes?
Exactly, right?
Not my doctor.
Well, and I think the biggest thing was that the companions often changed. And so it's just the doctor with a suit, like a closet full of the same outfit.
Yeah.
Or are we not bathing? What's going on?
Right.
The Time Lords don't have sweat glands, so
They don't sweat the same as humans
They can
do,
shut off
so-
their respiratory and perspiratory systems at will. I mean, I'm just thinking, if that's a matter of, if that's going to be a dynamic, then having that sort of with the interior, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the TARDIS kind of saying, oh, well, we're doing blue today? Okay, I'll do blue. Oh, we're going a more orange, we're going with some warmer tones? Oh yeah, I can go with warmer tones. And they kind of riff
And
with each other.
that's where I am hoping that there is a little bit more of that direct interaction with the TARDIS and the Doctor or companions, or I don't know for sure, but I can just see the emotional range where something exciting is happening and we get brighter lights, and then it gets darker and red and we're angry because something goes wrong or the Doctor's in danger.
Or even like, certain lights going on at different times, almost like, the TARDIS being able to communicate, there's
precisely.
It's exciting.
So that let me sort of dovetail that into a conversation about that and other aspects that this now brings into canon. We've got new capabilities of the sonic. I understand that is a little bit divisive. Anytime you add something new to the sonic, it's
Pun
it's
intended, divisive.
It is.
Well, I mean,
nice.
It looks like I went back and I watched a couple times, and it seems like the only things we actually see are the Doctor is able to draw a shape in the air, and then use a setting to determine what that square does. Because like the first time he does it and it turns it into an interactive display. The second time, like, and you see him draw it and then actively set the thing before the hex pattern goes across and turns it into some kind of physical barrier. So it'll be interesting to see if they do other things with that moving forward, but it's really kind of exciting.
Sound barriers, totally get it. The heads-up display thing, I don't really know how we're trying to hand wavium this thing. I'm okay with it. It was really pretty, and it gave David a chance to put his Smarty specs back on, which the moment that happens, hotness factor goes up by tenfold and all. But it's a matter of maybe there is some plausibility, and we were already starting to move towards that because the display tactics that were being used for 13, and then even backing up a little bit towards the tail end of Capaldi's run, we were starting to say, all right, well, our viewing audience has fancier display things on the dash of their Volkswagen, so I think we should probably be able to incorporate something a little better here with this masterful tool.
I like this for visibility of what's going through the Doctor's head. We are no longer having to audibly explain to a companion all of the things we are thinking and looking at and what we are analyzing.
And it keeps the Doctor from having to just stare at the side of the sonic like he's reading something.
Correct. And I like having it be something that is a little bit more technologically advanced than having maybe even pushing a button on the sonic and having it project up like that, because it allows for some of that. Let's still have props and visual cues or interesting facial expressions of either thinking or reacting to what we're seeing from the Doctor, instead of just like holding my hand here and the other hand is wavy doing what? I don't know. So draw something, make it there, be reading, reviewing. I feel like it's a more
show, don't tell
way. It's show, don't tell. And I always am going to vote for that, even if it is a new introduction of something that I have also seen people who are saying that it's too much for the screwdriver. Like, you don't know, it's metal now.
Have you not paid attention to what it's done before now? Like,
Matt Smith held up a 10-ton stone slab. I mean, how's that work?
Yeah. And it's not wood, it's air, so it's fine. And also being able to lift the visor. Like, we've got some electromagnetism there too. So there's
sure. I do like the fact that he did explain if it's good at one thing, it's very, very good at poking around with
resonating
with
concrete.
Yeah, right.
Sonic. It's not concrete. It's mortar.
The fact that like he sat there for a moment and was like, "This is a sonic screwdriver for anyone joining the show right now. This is a sonic screwdriver."
Right. To that end, though, do we feel like we got that you wanted a little bit of an explanation as to why the Sonic had changed?
No, I didn't. I was. It's changed so many times. It's like, oh, sweet, new Sonic. All right, I like it.
Okay. I just felt I know on some of the most recent changes they made more of a deal out of the changing. Either the TARDIS provided it, or the Doctor forged it, or whatever the case may be. So.
I took that to be similar to how the rest of the outfit and the persona is back to something we are unsure of. It's just this Doctor fell into that moment. And I don't know if the reveal will explain more of that as we get episodes 2 and 3. But I'm thinking there is a reason why, obviously, and that hopefully some of that will sort of tell us why we were so different about this iteration and where Jodie had to completely rebuild. But also I mean, we've seen a lot of times where the Doctor has to kind of rebuild or restructure it because Jodie's was broken before she got it. And so in this case, it wasn't. It was already functioning. So now it's just this Doctor's functioning.
Right. Canonically, then we also now have a Donna Noble who is safe.
Yeah.
So that
that
is
air quotes safe,
safely in knowledge of the Doctor once again.
Correct.
Which means that we get to face at some point yet another departure. Won't hurt quite the same way. Note I didn't say as much. Won't hurt in quite the same way. But that also we've got more individuals who are now brought into the understanding, more Earthlings that are brought into the understanding of what was faced, and the true importance of Donna at the center of all of this. So that's.
I just hope that we are given some room to appreciate that, and I know they mentioned we'll go visit Wilf, and I know it's a thing that we can't do on screen, but I hope that gets alluded to, that they get to do it.
The thing that I picked up on when the Doctor very quickly was like, hey, what do you say? One last trip kind of thing. And Donna shut him down. She was like, I would love to, but I can't. And so Donna has already made the choice that she is not going to travel with the Doctor. So it's not going to be a matter of, finding some way for her to exit. Like the exit has already begun, basically. So I'm not as worried about her exit this time, assuming that it is peaceful.
Yeah. Now that she has had all of that memory restored to her, she gets to process that in tandem with a life separate from the Doctor that she has thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
So,
and she's already, with all the knowledge, she already made the choice. She's like, no, I have my family. I have my daughter. This stuff is more important to me than traveling in the TARDIS. So.
Yeah. We just got to get them back there now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
So let's talk for a moment about the cast of this episode, because we've got the returning characters, or the returning actors: David Tennant, Catherine Tate, Jacqueline King as Sylvia. I mean, they all fell immediately back into their roles, and it was perfect. You had Carl Collins coming back as Sean Temple, who I don't think had any speaking lines, was just like, you saw him at the end with Donna's wedding, but that was pretty much it. But like, here you actually get to see him as a character, and I loved his performance. It was so great.
Yeah. I almost wish we got to know Sean better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because he's such a really nice guy.
Obviously we had Yasmin Finney as Rose, just absolutely killing it. I thought that she was wonderful in this one.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that sequence with the Meep in the shed at the outset really sold to me, why so many people were really loving her from Heartbreakers, and just the ability to be able to kind of come in and be sort of the innocent ingenue to certain aspects of the story overall, but really having a lot of substance and gravity to delivery of certain sequences when sort of speaking back with her parents and kind of taking in, and then obviously being able to handle the technical mumbo jumbo when she's infused with the medical. I mean, she's spewing jargon like anybody else could.
For someone to be able to share the screen with massive personalities like David Tennant and Catherine Tate and not immediately get lost speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. We also had, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but Ruth Madeley as Shirley Ann Bingham.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've already talked about her. She just absolutely killed it with this role, and I really, really hope that she comes back. And the other one that really stood out to me was Ronak Patani as Major Singh. I want to see him return. Like, he wasn't on screen for very long, but when he was, I was like, dude, I want to see this guy in action. I want to see him like really come forth.
Maybe we can get their unit spinoff.
Yeah. Right.
I'd watch it.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody stand out to you guys?
I was enamored with Sylvia through this. Mm-hmm. This was something where I thought her comedic timing really got a chance to shine. The fact that she was really set up to be the one caught in the middle of all of this, saying, "Can't we all just pretend this isn't happening and sit down?" while the building is literally burning down behind her, and she's doing the Leslie Nielsen Naked Gun. Everything's fine here. Don't mind. I thought it was wonderful. But then there were also moments where you could tell that she understood or was trying as hard as she could to understand the difficulty that her daughter was going through and the pain and the struggle that her granddaughter is going through, and trying to process it, being willing to state that she's having difficulty and she has questions and she doesn't quite get it. And that's it seems like an unusual conversation to put into a program like this, but it's so real. It's something where you want that to happen. So you would want you want to make a scene feel natural, put exchanges like that in your dialogue.
Yeah.
And then have Donna claim her own greatness and be like, right, Mom? Right? Yeah. Right? It's like, oh, yes, honey. Did you know about this other thing?
The fact that pretty much every time we have seen Sylvia in the show previously, she has been antagonistic and abrasive. And we really didn't see a change in that character until Donna's exit, when the doctor's laying out these stakes and she is recognizing it. So now we're seeing the culmination of that, and we are seeing her actually caring for her daughter and not trying to control her anymore. And it really did kind of take a lot of those edges off and give this actress a chance to really show what she's capable of. Because you're right, Kier, like her comedic timing in this was fantastic. And those moments of a vulnerability when she's admitting to not knowing how to handle Rose, or, you know, wanting to make sure she's doing the right thing, or recognizing that Donna has called the doctor by his name, even though she never heard it. Like, you can see the weight on her, and it's fantastic.
And short little shout out to the kid who came running down the alleyway saying, "Hey, Rose, there's aliens," and then was the first one to lay eyes on the Rourth warriors, and then also staring out his window at the flames in the street. Just quick little shout out. He was great.
Yeah, give it up for London Millhouse.
Yes. But clearly comfortable enough with Rose that would run down and probably share stories or randomly visit, and respected their relationship and who she is and all of that. Like, clearly the kid who's like, and wants to hang out and be older than he is.
One of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that he came searching for her, calling her out by name almost immediately after we run into the boys from school that had been dead naming her. I was like, I love this kid. I don't care who he is. I love him.
Yep. So with all of this amazing show that we have, are there any theories that we still have unanswered questions for? Who is the doctor? Why is the doctor? And anything else that we are... No, I wasn't going to go there.
Why is the doctor?
How? Clearly not great. On fire just a bit right now, okay? But that we... do we feel like we are closer to any answers, or are we still wondering just as much as we were in the beginning?
I think the question of why this face was spoken verbatim a number of times and paraphrased even more throughout the entire episode. I think that is going to be a point that is going to have to come up and will likely be answered by the end of the 3 specials.
Agreed. I think that we also got a new introduction of somebody named the Boss.
The Boss.
Looking for
that's cryptic.
Two-hearted aliens, right? So either that's a throwaway line or that's a very important line.
Yeah.
So that brought up a new question of also, why are we getting another two-hearted alien here right now?
I'm also, just because I knew that it was RTD and I'm watching for those breadcrumbs, I'm wondering if the woman from Abu Dhabi who is buying all of Rose's toys will become something by the end of this.
Abu Dhabi. All right. I'm going to have to think through who might have been.
Yeah, either that or it's just... I want to just see her in the toy episode where she's like putting in orders online for something else.
Right. Yeah, that's gotta be, there's something to that. There's something to that lady in Abu Dhabi who loves
the fact that they mentioned her shipping things to Dubai, and then again it was like, oh, that woman in Abu Dhabi who buys your things, like, I really think that it's not just a throwaway line. It very much could be, but I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Is this the last of the Meep?
No. I think you'll get the Meep one more time because the threatened escape, I think, would be facilitated as kind of part of the I told you so thing when the boss reveal comes about.
Okay.
It may not be much, and it may just be visual. It may be kind of like we got with the Pating when we saw them in incarceration in a later episode, sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. But it's
oh, the Pating, still probably one of my favorites. Anyway.
That's just the Meep after it tumbles in the dryer for too long. All the fur falls out and it shrinks a bit. Gets real angry.
I agree. I think we can see them in like cameo kind of things, but I don't see them coming back as a antagonist anytime soon.
It's a lot of money to throw at Margulies too.
Right. Will we see more of Rose and Sean and Sylvia outside of just a quick return, hugs, and goodbye?
I hope so. I really do.
I would hope so, but I'm not going to put anything on it. I think part of what will make this the sort of endearing little package that it is it's this nice coda to the Tennant and Tate era that allows us to be able to see this closure. Maybe Rose, because of of her youth and the fact that she is fully aware and cognizant of everything now at a scale that few others living on this planet are. I don't know how much, when they let go of that metacrisis energy, how much of the knowledge remains. Maybe not the know-how, but the awareness remains. So that kind of puts her in a better position to be a leverageable point of contact for other characters later. But I don't know. Sean, probably not so much.
I would like to see the Doctor and Donna running around in the second episode and then realizing that they need Rose to help them fix whatever is going wrong in the third episode.
And that's why she makes toys. She's got to fix the broken toys.
Her toys go to battle with the toy makers' army, and yeah.
It'll be a whole thing.
Oh, I found a connection. I'm still riffing on this Abu Dhabi thing.
I planted the seed.
Just hold it. All right, I'm gonna tease this out. Something
Listener, the thinking face has turned on.
So Donna was talking about the fact that when she said, "Oh, maybe that woman in Abu Dhabi loves him," she loves all those gonks or something like that, right?
Right.
It was gonks, yeah.
A gonk is a term referring to a 1960s toy. It's like this little, they're just kind of a over-exaggerated, like a potato head thing, but they usually had very, very overemphasized faces and tiny little limbs. So very kind of potato head, but stuffed. That was a particular name for those types of toys that was used by Susan Foreman, canonically.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, geez. Now you have set the expectation.
They, I mean, if anyone is going to recognize these things for what they really are and starts buying them all online.
Oh, man.
Do we know if the Celestial Toymaker episodes are Earthside or elsewise, or not yet?
From what we saw from trailers, this seemed Earth-based. Yeah.
Okay.
But who knows? So.
We'll get there when we get there.
Exactly.
In 1 week's time, we will be returning to talk about the Wild Blue Yonder. So,
yeah, this is the weird one. The teaser we saw makes no sense. Like none whatsoever. None. Which is great. Because there's nothing.
Julie approved.
Nothing you can tease out of that.
I actually haven't watched it because I only have a week, so I can avoid spoilers that long. Oh man, I just used my closeout line. Just kidding.
Well, this has been episode 508 of Gallifrey Public Radio. Until next time, this is Jay saying, what could possibly go wrong? Oh my God, I did it again.
And this is Keir saying, 166 million pounds.
And this is Julie saying, she shouldn't have gone in there. I said it. Didn't I say it?
We'll see you next time.
Allons-y.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Gallifrey Public Radio. Want to keep the conversation going? You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or just send us a good old-fashioned email to feedback@gallifreypublicradio.com. You can also give us a phone call at 754-225-5477. That's 754-CALL-GPR, and you may hear your voice on a future episode of the show. Everything's got to end sometime, otherwise nothing would ever get started. Join us next week for a brand new episode.
Hi, I'm Jacob Hansen. Gallifrey Public Radio is copyright 2023. We'll see you next time.